Hello, as always, Masha tells you stories and welcomes you to the 14th episode of the podcast Film Grazie Artis, or just Film if shortly. Here I share tales that inspire and reveal unique experiences of creators, makers and lovers of all kinds. I hope you find this program interesting and encouraging, whether you practice art or enjoy learning about other people's radical career change. Some of us were brought up in societies where it was a common rule to serve one profession without even trying your hands at something else. Historically, there were practical reasons why people tend to stick to one line of employment, often related to limited opportunities and social structures. In many societies, individuals were born into specific social class and business with little chance for upward mobility or career change. Apprenticeships, where individuals learned a trade from master craftsmen, also reinforced this pattern, binding them for a specific craft for an extended period. Furthermore, the need for stability and the challenges of acquiring new skills in a pre-industrial era discouraged frequent job changes. All around us, we can find countless examples of gifted individuals following in the footsteps of their families. Exceptional teachers from generations of educators, outstanding doctors from lineages rooted in medicine and research. Some talents seem to bloom directly from the rich soil of ancestral artistry, and some even believe that certain genes might carry the potential for creative skill. But this isn't always the case. Talent doesn't always follow heredity. It can arise in unexpected places, charting its own unique path. At times, talent emerges not because of the environment, but in defiance of it. A person may not continue along the path carved out by generations before them, be they tailors, engineers, lawyers, weavers, or musicians. And even if they begin on that inherited road, there are moments when they make a bold turn, choosing instead to follow the quiet but powerful call of their inner voice. There are many motivations behind such choice, ranging from the rise in available opportunities and a longing for personal fulfillment, to the influence of technological progress and a stronger emphasis on self-development. It often comes down to prioritizing oneself and seeking a life filled with happiness and meaning. Have you ever found yourself in a psychologist's office during a time of deep emotional exhaustion or professional burnout, when the work that once inspired you felt meaningless, and the activities that used to bring you joy no longer seemed to matter? Leaning back in the chair, often reflecting on the feelings for the first time, people begin to speak about things that are difficult to put into words, emotions that are tangled, conflicted, and deeply human. They often say things like, "I don't feel like myself anymore." A sense of disconnection from one's identity, passion, or values is often voiced first. The person may feel hollow, numb, or like they're going through the motions. "I'm tired all the time, but I can't stop." They might describe a relentless sense of fatigue that sleep doesn't cure, paired with guilt about resting or stepping back. "Nothing I do feels like it matters." Burnout can bring on existential doubt. Work that once felt purposeful may now feel empty or pointless. "I used to love this. What happened?" This line often comes from creatives or professionals who once found deep meaning in what they do. "I feel like I'm failing everyone, including myself." There may be an overwhelming sense of shame, self-blame, and the pressure to meet unrealistic expectations. "If I stop, everything will fall apart." This is the voice of someone carrying too much responsibility, believing their worth is tied to constant productivity. "I don't know how to ask for help." Shame and fear of judgment often stop people from reaching out sooner. Surely, many of us can relate to at least one or two points from this list. So, what can we do when that happens? We need a careful listener, a psychologist, friend, soulmate, since the role in these moments is often not to fix, but to listen with deep empathy, helping the person reconnect to what truly matters and what needs to be let go. Often, it's the first place someone says aloud that they've been afraid to admit even to themselves. Sometimes we look for inspiring examples, people who have already endured challenges and emerged transformed. These individuals become like lighthouses, guiding others through life storms, offering wisdom, support, and reassuring presence that make others feel safe and understood. You can find them in loved ones or complete strangers, or mentors, teachers, co-workers, and even pugilists. Though they're brave and strong like rocks, they have a delicate, deeply human side. They show their strength in new and unexpected ways, quietly standing their ground with subtle defiance. These are the people who took a bold turn, leaving behind the battlefield, whether real or metaphorical, to immerse themselves in the act of making, discovering meaning through stitching, working with leather, painting, or writing poetry. Imagine we are in a time machine, transported back to 1930s Chicago. There we meet Sammy Frager, a Romanian immigrant, soldier and boxer standing at a crossroads, seemingly lost, uncertain of which path to take next. Frager was the featherweight champion at the Great Lakes Naval Training Station during World War I, and even faced off against fighters like Sammy Mendel. Yet something always felt off. Perhaps it was the simple absence of a good pair of boxing gloves. So he took to crafting, and Frager's shop on West Randall Street became legendary. There he hand-cut leather, traced hands, and spent 6 hours building a single pair of gloves, initially padded with goat hair, evolving into foam as the sport modernized. His gloves weren't just equipment, they were bespoke instruments worn by Joe Louis, James G. Braddock, Sugar Ray Robinson, and even Muhammad Ali, who wore Frager's gloves in both of his legendary bouts against Liston in 1964 and 1965. Insiders still recall the iconic moment, Ali towering over a fallen Liston, and on his hands there were Frager's gloves. Frager turned down industry buyouts, choosing craftsmanship over mass production. He personally dyed, stitched, and labeled each glove with care. In a time dominated by factory-made gear, his studio stood as a quiet testament to what true artisanship meant, a tangible bond between maker and wearer, integrity valued above scale. His gloves told the story of a profound transformation from fighter into the ring to the hands that equipped others for the battle. There is a quiet poignancy too. Frager passed away in 1966, before Ali's final fight, leaving behind a legacy etched into every worn pair of leather gloves. Not occasionally, Ali appeared in this story, since Muhammad Ali, born Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr., was an American professional boxer and influential social activist. Celebrated worldwide as the greatest, he became a global cultural icon, widely considered the greatest heavyweight boxer in history. At the same time, we don't often talk about Muhammad Ali, the painter and the poet, but his creative output is every bit as tangible as his padded glove. By the late 1970s, after retirement, Ali produced paintings infused with Islamic African influence. His bold, colorful canvases defied expectations. The man who floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee transformed fine and sands in a brushstroke and vibrant palettes. Some may wonder why Muhammad Ali turned to painting. The answer lies in his roots. His father was a sign painter and muralist, which helped spark Ali's natural artistic talent and creative spirit. His artwork often reflected the themes close to him: boxing, civil rights, religion, world peace, and humanitarian values. His spoken word albums like I'm the Greatest were more than hype. There was storytelling, myth-making, defiance through art. Underneath the bravado was sensitivity, a former champion banned from boxing, rebuilding identity through untypical tools, canvas instead of glove, rhythm instead of job. Ali's creative turn reminds us, mastery in one arena primes one for exploration in another. When you have lived and been dubbed the greatest, vulnerability becomes the next frontier. Painting and poetry became Ali's sanctuary from the spotlight, his therapy, and his declaration. In his later years, Muhammad Ali turned to art as a form of therapy. As Parkinson's disease gradually limited his physical abilities, drawing and painting, especially with colored markers, offered him a sense of space, control, and expression. It became both a creative outlet and a source of solace, allowing him to communicate his inner world when words of movement became more difficult. Through art, Ali continued to share his passion, beliefs, and vibrant spirit even as his body slowed down. Can we find any living examples among the contemporaries? Indeed, Mark Connor, Malicious Mark, as he was once known in boxing circles, is proof that true fight doesn't always come in the ring. Raised in St. Paul, Minnesota, he penned 102 amateur fights in his past before capturing the Golden Gloves at 17 and wrestling with the question, is this all there is? Connor earned an English degree, sparred with pros, and traveled from Alaska to Lakota witnessing salmon boats and ceremonies in reservation land. Eventually, he took a hint. The death of his father in 2019 promoted Connor to honor a promise, to write and release his plans for life, which he postponed for too long. Through time and complicated periods of writing, the result was It's About Time, millions of copies sold for dead, which is an outstanding literary quilt, a memoir, poetic sequence, and spiritual journey wrapped in the geography of faith, loss, and atonement. Writing for Connor isn't an academic exercise, it's the kindling of ritual. He draws parallels between the cadence of boxing, footwork, and the rhythm of language, the punch and the beat. As he once said, boxing and poetry collide rhythm, timing, presence, and flow. This is a powerful example of how life's changes can bring healing, especially when someone finds the courage to seek balance amid life storms, blending mentoring and coaching with literature, craft, and community. Mark Connor's story underscores something profoundly human, that rebuilding the self after hardship, physical, psychological, spiritual, can require unconventional tools. Sammy Frager, Muhammad Ali, Mark Connor each embodies a simple yet radical truth. Transformation often follows trauma, loss, or limitation. Facing an end of a career or deprivation or fading bell at the stadium, each found solace and purpose in craft. Connor's poetry is his new ring. Frager's gloves are his legacy. Ali's paintbrush was his reinvention. These are not retreat moves, they are expansions. They emphasize that human creativity can rise from the ashes of competition, pain, or closure. These men didn't just find themselves, they built themselves, stitch by stitch, word by word, canvas by canvas. They show us that ending a chapter isn't failure, it's an invitation, and maybe that's the real knockout, when you realize you are more than your punches. Let's imagine ourselves in their shoes. Imagine a quiet moment in a place you didn't expect to return or come to. A boxing ring, empty now, suspended in silence. The lights are soft, not glaring. There is no crowd, no opponent, just the ring, the ropes, the breath of the space itself. You walk slowly towards the center, your feet landing gently on canvas worn by time, by effort, by stories only the soles of shoes remember. And perhaps in this ring a part of you is already waiting, not the fighter with fists clenched, but the watcher, the one who sees, the part of you that remembers who you were before you put on gloves, before names were given, before wins and losses meant anything. Maybe this is the space between punches, between heartbeats, where the true self waits, not to be defended, but to be discovered. Here, the ring is not a battlefield, but a mirror. Each rope is a boundary of thought, each corner a moment from your life. And you notice in the silence that the answer never came from the crowd, or the noise, or the opponent. They come from the stillness, from the rhythm of breath and the courage to ask, who am I when I'm no longer fighting? And it's alright to let that questions echo like footsteps, circling a ring, because somewhere, without forcing, the meaning begins to unfold. Not as a bow, not as a shout, but as a thread pulled gently from the glove, soft, steady, and quietly true. Feel its soft texture, discover your inner strength as you make a radical career change, and I will be back soon.